Front.
It's going on and off.
Okay. Set now.
It's ready.
Okay. In the week in review, Bashir Bayo Ojulare is now Group CEO of NNPC Limited. Edo State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal dismisses petitions challenging victory of Monday Ekpebolo as governor. Court adjourns case between Natasha Akpoti-Oduaghan and the Senate to May 12th, 2025. Whatever is this is bouncing back to my ear. I don't know. I can't stand up from my seat, so you know that. It's bouncing back in my ear. I'm not even. I'm using the prompter. She's set now at where I'm welcoming the guests. That's why I'm using my script. Just leave it there. Just leave it there. In a week in review, Bashir Ojo. Can I go? In a week in review, Bashir Bayo Ojolare is now Group CEO of NNPC Limited. Edo State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal dismisses petitions challenging victory of Monday Ekpebolo as governor. Court adjourns case between Natasha Akpoti-Oduaghan and the Senate to May 12, 2025. Hello and welcome to 24/7 in Review. I am Joseph Oten. We will, in our usual style, take a look at stories that made the headlines in the week under review. Our guest today is Joseph Ojime. He is a senior reporter at Champions Newspapers. Welcome to the program.
I'm glad to be here.
Okay. Now we'll begin with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu approval of a sweeping reconstitution of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited board, removing the chairman, Chief Pius Akinyelare, and the group chief executive officer, Malam Mele Kolo Kiari. President Tinubu removed all other board members appointed Okay. Stop there. Don't worry. President Bola Tinubu removed all other board members appointed with Akinyelare and Kiari in November 2023. The Edo State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal dismissed petitions challenging the victory of Monday Ekpebolo as governor. Dele Atombi reports that the three-man tribunal headed by Justice Wilfred Okpoche gave the order in Abuja. Meanwhile, the national leadership of the People's Democratic Party says it rejected the ruling of the Edo State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal, describing it as a miscarriage of justice. The party expresses concern over the tribunal's decision to dismiss its petition despite what it described as overwhelming evidence of electoral malpractice in the 21st I'm looking at the prompter. Okay, respond to Elekere.
Yeah, actually, at a time and again, there's a need to change leadership in every organization. And most times when new leaders come in, the new executives come in, there's that tendency that, every activity will pick up. And especially when probably there is some level of complacency. And of course, there is some level of maybe abuse of power, abuse of privileges, abuse of office. There's a need for change of pattern. And what has happened in the, NMPCL is long overdue. And actually because, there have been several allegations, though not, taken very seriously, sweeping allegations anyway. But at the end of the day, the change has been effected, and I think Bayo Ojulari coming in from, also from the oil industry will bring his experience in the oil industry to bear on the leadership of the Nigeria's highest petroleum industry. And I think, some of these people who have been removed also will have to account for certain things during, their terms in office.
Okay. Okay, now let's move to election matters. The Edo State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal dismissed petitions challenging the victory of Monday Ekpebole as governor. Dele Atombi reports that the three-man tribunal headed by Justice Wilfred Bochi gave the order in Abuja. Meanwhile, the national leadership of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, says it rejected the ruling of the Edo State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal, describing it as a miscarriage of justice. The party expresses concern over the tribunal's decision to dismiss its petition despite what it described as overwhelming evidence of electoral malpractice in the 21st September 2024 governorship election.
It's a normal thing for the People's Democratic Party, the opposition party in Edo State, to reject the ruling of the tribunal, but it is still at the tribunal level yet. And especially, there's room for appeal. There's room for, of course, there's room for appeal, and I believe also they are moving for appeal now. And especially when you think you have overwhelming evidence, as they have just told us, and they want us to believe that they have presented overwhelming evidence to the tribunal, and then the ruling was otherwise. Well, it all depends on the facts on ground. The judges, I believe, also ruled based on the facts available to them. If there were electoral malpractices, it is also left now for the PDP to prove their case in the appeal, and so that case it can either still be sustained or be upturned. If they lose appeal, there is still room to proceed to the Supreme Court. All we want in Nigeria is free, fair, and credible election. And if that is in place, cases like this won't, be coming up all the time. When people lose election, they win in the court, or some, win, and then in the court they lose, and someone else who probably was number 4 on the list becomes the governor. Such things, to avoid them, is for INEC to look inwards and ensure that elections are conducted in a free, fair, and credible manner.
Abanyida,
Yeah.
There is a light reflecting on the prompter, so maybe you turn it down a little bit. Come and see the light. Come and see here. Come here, you see the light. You see that light on the prompter. So it's still there. Turn the light you on now. Maybe just turn it a little bit. It's the light that is reflecting on it. Go that side a bit. It's still there, but it's small. I think I can manage this one. Let me just see if I can manage. Now, Kogi State government placed a total ban on all forms of rallies and public gatherings that have the potential to disrupt public peace. Individuals or groups entering the state with a convoy or security personnel must also obtain prior clearance from the state command of the deploying service. A statement by the State Commissioner for Information and Communication, Kingsley Fanwo, states that this followed security reports on flashes of disturbance raising tension in the state and threatening peace and security. And the Kogi State described the allegation by suspended Senator Natasha Akpoti-Oduaghan that Governor Ahmed Usman Dodo, his predecessor, former Governor Yaya Bello, and the Senate President Godswill Akpabio should be held responsible if anything happens to her as a ploy to mislead the public. A statement by the Commissioner for Information and Communication, Kingsley Fanwo, says the suspended senator deliberately violated a ban on political gatherings imposed by the state government to maintain law and order. He says the state government will not allow any part of the state to go up in flame, nor permit killings of innocent citizens by the actions of the suspended senator. Mr. Fanwo says she has since deleted the post on her verified Facebook page. And the office of the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, condemned strongly what it termed as falsehood and inflammatory accusation of assassination plot made by Senator Natasha Akpoti-Oduaghan against the President of the Senate. A statement signed by the Special Advisor to the President of the Senate on Media and Publicity, Eseme Ehibo, said the suspended Senator Natasha this week claimed that Senator Akpabio had recruited former Governor Yaya Bello to assassinate her in Kogi State rather than in Abuja. The statement sees the accusation as outrageous, false, a complete fabrication, and irresponsible, as well as dangerous attempt to provoke public interest and media attention. The statement described this recent falsehood as pattern deployed to manipulate and exploit public sensitivity through recurrent victimhood narrative. And the matter between Senator Natasha and the Nigerian Senate coming. Okay, come back. Okay, stop there. And in the matter between Senator Natasha and the Nigerian Senate, the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, Justice John Tehumba-Toho, has reassigned the case to Justice Binta Nyeko. Correspondent Delia Tombi reports that the suit is ready for mention this Friday. Okay. Is there need to also mention that? Yes. Just leave it there. This implies that the case is starting afresh. And INEC concluded the verification of signatures on the petition to recall Senator Natasha come back, let me start it afresh. I think some things are meeting there. And INEC concluded the verification of signatures on the petition to recall Senator Natasha, representing Kogi Central Senatorial District. The commission noted that total number of registered voters in the senatorial district is 474,544 across the 902 polling units in 57 registered areas and 5 local government areas that make up the senatorial district. The commission ascertained 208,132 signatures and thumbprints from the submission made by the petitioner. This translates to 43.86% of the registered voters, which falls short of the constitutional requirement by 29,146 signatures. This shows the petition has not met the requirement of Section 69A of the Constitution. Statement by INEC National Commissioner for Information Sam Olumekin therefore says no further action shall be taken on the recall of the senator. And the court adjourned further hearing of the case between Natasha Akpoti-Oduaghan and the Senate on to May 12, 2025. However, court has barred parties from granting media interviews during pending. Let me take that again. Let me just take it the court straight. All right there. Now, the court adjourned further hearing on the case between Natasha Akpoti-Oduaghan and the Senate to May 12, 2025. However, court has barred parties from granting media interviews during pendency of the matter.
Yeah, very interesting there. It
So much about this
It
case.
has been politics, and then all politics. Anyway, we may not exactly tell what happened, what must have prompted Kogi State government and the CP there to, place a ban on, social gatherings and movement of convoys. But be that as it may, we want to look at this the other way. Were there any information, leading to any kind of violent, any insinuation towards a violent attack? Well, it's left for the authorities there to tell us exactly what prompted it. But what we're saying is,
they say they had intelligence reports.
Intelligence reports. Yes, of course.
The gathering.
Exactly. The people were gathered to receive their own Onsala break, and then again, there's another thing we want to state here, because in Kogi State there have been incidents of kidnap incidents here and there. In Benue State, herdsmen are killing and doing all sort of destructions and maiming and displacing communities with reckless abandon. And one would have expected that, look, the security should have been deployed to these areas to curb this menace. rather than send probably, security after one person who is loved by her people. And well, that has come and gone, and she was able to beat the security and landed, and the welcome was done. But we are not trying to preempt the Kogi State government. What we're saying is, well, this welcome, home that was planned for her was achieved, irrespective of the fact that she was stopped.
And there was no crisis.
There was no crisis. At the end of the day, we have not recorded any security breach at all in that particular area. No violence whatsoever. So it is only the authorities that know why they had to do that. But here again, Senator Natasha is smiling now because at the end of the day, the recall process has kind of, flopped, because it was still from the suspension, which she said she was unjustly suspended from the Senate, that at the end of the day, it led from suspension, it led to a recall, and even in the recall, we tried to interview some people who said they were not actually informed that the process was leading to the recall of the senator. What they said was they were only brought, their list was shown them and with their names on it, and they were only asked to sign, promising them that there were going to be palliatives. And that was what made them to sign. And at the end of the day, these signatures collected have not been able to meet the quota. And well, that has, that one has been laid to rest and until probably another time. And again, I want to say here that to make weighty allegations, as much as talking about planned assassination, is something that the authorities should look into. This is something that the IG of police, will have to actually, try to monitor right now the movements around Natasha, and try to say that she is protected as a citizen, because one, it is not easy to make such weighty allegation against the person of the Senate president. It is neither easy to make such weighty allegation against the person of the former governor of Kogi State, bordering on planned assassination. Maybe she has some information, maybe she was told, maybe something like that. But what we're saying is, we are not here to say whether what she's saying maybe is true,
but
or
she
probably
should be given security.
Exactly, she should be given security to protect her.
And let the rest take
Exactly.
in court.
Exactly. Okay. Pending the cases in court, which of course, the courts have adjourned, and I think in May we await the ruling of the court over the matter. But for now, she needs a lot of security like every other person, especially one who is raising alarm that, look, they are planning to assassinate me. Nobody knows how she came about the information. But what we're saying is she needs a lot of attention now from the security authorities of Nigeria.
That's okay. All right, we'll still move on court issues. The Supreme Court has set aside the verdict of the Court of Appeal in Abuja, which affirmed Julius Abure as the national chairman of the Labour Party. In a unanimous decision, the five-man panel of justice of the Apex Court ruled that the Court of Appeal lacked the jurisdiction to affirm Abure's position as Labour Party national chairman. The court held that the substance of the case centered on party leadership, which falls under internal party affairs, a matter over which courts lack jurisdiction. The Supreme Court effectively nullified the Court of Appeal earlier decision, reinforce its stance that leadership disputes with any political parties should be resolved internally rather than through judicial intervention. But the National Working Committee of the Labour Party says Julius Abure remains its national chairman, and that the Supreme Court judgment only directed that the party to resolve its issues through internal mechanism. A statement by the National Publicity Secretary of the party, Obiora Ifon, says the Supreme Court categorically cautioned lower courts from interfering into internal issues of political parties. They lack jurisdiction to do so. He calls on the media to stop giving wrong interpretation of the court judgment, as there was no declaration by the Supreme Court sacking Julius Abure from office.
I'm happy the Supreme Court has come out with this clarification, because right on point, there were reports here and there that the Supreme Court has nullified or has sacked Julius Abure as the Labour Party national chairman. But I'm happy the Supreme Court has come out with this clarification that, look, we did not state, and we were not emphatic, and it is not the role of the court to kind of interfere into internal issues involving political parties. And especially because the internal mechanism, there's provision for the internal mechanism to resolve issues within the political party itself. And the political party has, the cases have been in court. One particular faction, say, claiming, chairmanship, and then Abure also claiming chairmanship. But the National Working Committee of the party has the final say. Now that the Supreme Court has now taken it back to the internal mechanism, function of the party, it is the National Working Committee of the party that has the final say concerning whether Julius Abure remains the chairman of the party or he is not, or he has been sacked. But now that the National Working Committee has stated categorically that Julius Abure remains the chairman, of course, so he is. I don't think there's any other, kind of narrative around it apart from the fact that, look, we have said this is our man, and any other faction claiming, parading itself as the chairman or probably the leadership of the party is null and void. So the Supreme Court has actually, helped the media now to kind of frame their narrative or their reportage regarding the ruling that was made at the Apex Courts.
Okay. Let's now take a break. Do stay with us. Thanks for joining us as we take you a look at stories that made the headlines in the week under review. Thanks for joining us as we take a look at stories that made the headlines in the week. Now we'll take some stories on the global stage. Vice President Kashim Shettima represented President Bola Tinubu at Senegal's 65th Independence Day anniversary celebration in Dakar, Senegal. Asian markets plunged after U.S. President Trump's tariff announcement. Guinea's military junta announces it will hold a constitutional referendum on 21st September 2025. South Korea's constitutional court removes President Yoon Suk-yeol from office.
Yeah, whether the Senegal and some of these countries from the Sahel are now ruled by military juntas, Africa is still one. Even though they have, kind of severe ties with the ECOWAS, we still believe that West Africa is still West Africa. And I believe I appreciate the brotherhood Nigeria has shown now. For the presence of Vice President there, Kashim Shettima, is also will add color to the inauguration, the independence of there in Senegal, the 65th independence in Senegal, of which we believe are in brotherhood, and nothing takes us apart from the fact that, look, there are some of these internal wranglings which the hope is there that one of these days they can still be resolved. Military juntas can still one day return to civil rule, and we will all march on in democracy must survive in Africa.
Okay, take a look at the log and let us have the story of the week.
My story of the week is the failed recall process that was initiated for Senator Natasha, who was initially suspended for 6 months, which is, of course, to her now, I think it's a mark of injustice, because there has never been a time that any senator was suspended for 6 months. Ali Ndume was suspended and probably he went to court, and then the ruling favored him and he was recalled. Before even 1 month, he was back to the Senate. Omo Agege was equally suspended, but the court said a senator can only be suspended for 14 days in the Senate, which is also there in the Senate rules. So the aspect of the idea of suspending somebody for 6 months, needs much to be desired. And I think the Senate should also look inwards and consider this is one of their own. She was elected by her constituents, and she is there in the Senate representing the people. And 6 months away from the Senate is something that nobody should appreciate. Nobody should actually reckon with. And again, the court process. Before we will talk about the 6 months suspension, the court process was initiated. But we appreciate the fact that, look, the INEC came out to say this, the signatures collected did not meet up the requirements. And so that one had been laid to rest. It is actually a story I relish within the week.
All right. Thank you so much, Joseph Ojumen, senior reporter at Champions Newspaper, for joining us again.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And thank you too for joining us. I'll see you on the next episode of 247 in Review. Bye-bye. Are we okay? It's too much. They were just abusing. They're even making the woman more popular with all their actions and all these things. I feel there are better ways they would have handled it. They handle these things as if they are not experienced enough. I'm telling you, you have not settled your own case. You are busy chasing another person. No, you know what he wants? He sees an opportunity whereby he will be in the Senate, and then he will now hide under the Senate so that his case is. Why are we rushing? There's a program coming up.